As a former theater student and certified thespian, at least I remember filling out the application to be one in high school. I don't know if I still am or if I need to pay my dues or something, but as a former theater student and possible thespian, I have to say that I never saw the Wicked musical. I know, I've dropped the ball, but the creators of the Wicked movie did not. I absolutely love this adaptation, and here's my impression of Wicked Part 1 as someone who did not watch the original musical beforehand. I would like to point out that by now I've watched the musical, and it was simply because I could not wait a year to see what happens in Act 2. Alright, let's get into it. Warning, there are spoilers ahead. I've always loved a good origin story. And as someone who's had to write essays on and intensively study the Wizard of Oz movie while in college, I can appreciate a villain origin story taking place in the world of Oz. Oz represents so much on a cultural and political front, and I think Wicked is also a huge political piece as it essentially is about race relations. Of course, there's the obvious prejudice that Elphaba experiences throughout her childhood due to the color of her skin. But the idea of putting citizens, the animals of Oz, into cages and limiting their freedom of speech is something that parallels exactly with what we're experiencing today in real life as well as throughout history. I think Cynthia Orville playing Elphaba adds a significant layer to the story since Elphaba's experiences are symbolic of the same experiences Black women globally in some instances experience, as we are constantly overlooked, ostracized, policed, and we are essentially othered. Cynthia's vocal control and her acting performance were also top tier. I think she and Ariana, their viral interview moments aside, really did make the perfect duo for this, and they did a wonderful job at bringing these characters to the screen. We all knew Ariana could sing, but it was nice to see her theater voice shine through for Galinda, or Glinda in the end. Cynthia's voice in Defying Gravity was spectacular. And seeing them both in the Oz Dust scene was something that was just so touching. I also enjoyed watching the bond between Elphaba and her professor, Dr. Dilliman. Plus, I'm a sucker for an underdog story, so I absolutely hated seeing Dr. Dilliman being dragged away like that. I also must say that Michelle Yeoh did amazing as Madame Morrible. She's a lot more likable in the beginning of the film, and again, as someone who didn't watch the original musical, I was shocked about just how drastically she turned on Elphaba. And now, after finishing the stage musical, I see that the movie took some liberties about how Madame Morrible is portrayed in the movie versus on the stage. On stage, Madame Morrible seems larger than life, and when watching that, it was clear that she was also personally motivated. But in the movie, Madame Morrible seems like that professor who's hard on you, but secretly is hoping for you to succeed. And I think this change was a nice touch for the film, because again, I wasn't expecting for her to be an enemy to Elphaba. I also think that the character Galinda is an interesting one, on stage and on the screen, as she is too dense for her own good. I saw somewhere that she wants to do good, but just not at her own expense. And this aspect, of course, makes her selfish, but I think her level of selfishness changes throughout the story, because although she's not a narcissist anymore, she's still selfish, and that's why she finds it hard to join Elphaba as an outcast in the same society that she benefits so much from and craves validation from. Also, the set design for this film is just beautiful. I know some people were saying it's too bland and basic, but I actually really enjoyed it, and it helped me to really immerse myself into the world of Oz. Oh yes, and Jeff Goldblum was genius as the Oz. His character really reminded me of his character in Chaos, except I think Oz suits him a little bit more than Zeus did. I'm rating this film a 9 out of 10. Even though this was 2 hours and 40 minutes, I was seated for the whole time, and my interest remained the same throughout the entire movie. The music didn't get on my nerves, and the acting and the singing was top tier. Visuals were good as well. I think they made a really nice adaptation here. Also, the incorporation of Kristen Chenoweth and Adiza Mendel were a wonderful treat and a beautiful nod to the Broadway original. In the comments below, let me know what you think of Wicked Part 1 and if you'll be going to see Part 2 next year. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.